carefully pronouncing tips. And we're talking bras. Now, your questions of the day are coming in, the answers to. I'm asking you about your tips for cleaning, because Anthea Turner, of course, is the nation's favourite cleaning-obsessed housewife. And Sarah in Surrey says soda water is great for getting out lots of stains. Did you know that, Jo Tantum?
No, I didn't.
Stained things that babies sting quite a lot, don't they?
Yes.
Baby grows themselves are always yellow,
Yes,
aren't they?
they are.
There you go. And Maria in London says cheap cola works well as a toilet cleaner. It removes limescale and any nasty stains as well. You can only imagine what it's doing to the inside of your body, can't you? Thank you very much for those. Jo, lovely to have you here, as always. Always look remarkably fresh, considering you spend your nights helping babies to get to sleep.
I know.
Now, one of the stories I want to talk to you about is swaddling. I swaddled my baby, because that's what we were told to do. We're in hospital. But apparently, a hip condition that disappeared 25 years ago has come back because people are swaddling their babies too tightly. That sounds like binding. I mean, how tight have you got to be before you start dislodging limbs? And
I think what happens is there's different areas of the country say different things about swaddling. Some say don't, some say do. Some say swaddle with this, some say swaddle with that. I think it just needs to be a blanket of a safe swaddling, and you need a light, breathable material, something that's stretchy, because obviously you don't want your babies bound. And obviously, you know, back in the day, people used to bind them, and still in a lot of cultures, babies are bound for about the first month. And so obviously this new hip dysplasia has obviously sprung its head again. And I think what happens is people get very tired. Parents get very tired and think swaddling is the key. So they swaddle, but all you need to do is swaddling with the baby. The reason you swaddle is because their arms. Their arms, they're born with a starter reflex called the Moro reflex, and that's when they fling their arms back and their head back. And any slight movement or sound, they will do that. And you can see them as they're going to sleep, they kind of start relaxing and then they do the jerking movement. That's all they need to be swaddled with, just their arms. So don't worry too much about their legs. You can just swaddle up to here if you wanted to, and swaddling them so that it's nice and firm, but not tight.
you're not going to give them some kind of shoulder complaint?
No, I mean, usually the idea is that you swaddle them so they can move. I mean, there's a few swaddles out there that are made out of merino wool, and merino wool is quite stretchy, and the idea of that is that they can actually move within the swaddle, and so they're not kind of like little mummies and
themselves on the face.
Exactly, and that's the thing. And
Did you swaddle?
Well, when you say swaddle, it was gaffer tape. No, we did swaddle, and we found that it really worked. If the kid was crying, and we did use
any kid or your kids mainly?
Anyway, you know, no, our kids. Quite tightly, we found that quite tightly, and it was that thing. We were told that it was reassuring, and it was like, you know, it's as if someone's cuddling them. It's as if they're safe. Exactly. If they're flailing around like this, they're not safe. It's like, whoa, what's going on? Oh, this is okay.
Exactly.
You know,
that's exactly what happens. So. Safe swaddling.
The next story is about a well-known Hollywood actress who has been parenting attachment parenting, which is I think you must know the book The Continuum Concept.
Yes,
I read that when I was pregnant, and it scared me to death, because this is a style of parenting where basically you just don't put the baby down. So the baby never wears nappies, because you know when the baby's going to do a poo or a wee, because it moves on your body slightly differently. And she spent 40 days in the house with the baby, with both her babies. I mean, it's a wonderfully idealistic way of bringing up your babies, but pretty restrictive, isn't it? If you've got any other responsibilities in the world.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of cultures in the world do this. You know, in Asia, it's the whole 40 days. You're not allowed to go out the house, and parents, mums and sisters actually move into your house and let you stay in bed. You breastfeed your baby. You are given food and water, which is wonderful. But, you know, in this Western society, you still have to go and do the shopping. You have older children to take
Parents
to school.
don't necessarily live near you.
No,
Your family's not necessarily
exactly.
in the same
So you
city.
haven't got a massive support system network that you can actually rely on. And what happens is, I think you have an idea in your head of how you want to parent. And then when you have the baby, it's kind of like, oh gosh, what exactly am I going to do? So it's wonderful, you know, if she wants to do this. And I think, you know, parents, if they want to do the attachment parenting to a degree, that's brilliant. But I also think it's how you want to parent. And I think it's very difficult when you've got people saying this is the right way to do it and this is the wrong way to do it.
I think this whole area, you know, I've certainly found when I had my babies, it's one of the only areas, it seems, as a woman that people have such strong opinions to tell you you're doing it wrong, you're doing it right, and you know, and that if you're not kind of, of a strong disposition, or
Yeah.
you feel really vulnerable and you feel you're not doing it very well, it can
Exactly.
be really damaging, I think, to, for other people to tell you you're doing it the wrong way.
I think that idea of having people to come and help is perfect, because in my experience, if you're relaxed, then the baby is that a little bit more relaxed. If the mum's just going, oh my God, what's going on? There's tension and there's anxiety, and everyone starts getting whipped up, and it just doesn't. And then the baby starts crying, and you get worse.
What's right for you, though, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
Exactly.
And your family.
It is. It's your choice. And unfortunately, some people have such a strong feeling that this is how it should be, that then they make other mums feel really guilty because they're not doing it. And, that may be the right way for them, but it's not the right way for every single mum. And you find your own choice, and if you need help, ask for help, but it's what you've chosen. So I think that's the big message, is that attachment parenting is brilliant for some children and babies and parents and families, but actually some parents want routines. So I think as an individual as well, it's what you want in your house. If you're a routine person, you couldn't even think about getting up in the morning and not knowing what's happening. I think that would panic you. So it's completely
about the individual choice.
It's
And I think we should
choices.
support each other on this
I
as well,
think so,
rather than be
definitely.
competitive about it. And,
Exactly. I know.
Okay, let's see who we've got for you on the phones. Kat, I believe. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Kat. What would you like to ask Jo about?
Hi, yeah. I've got an 18-month-old daughter who is still not sleeping through the night. We've got every bad habit possible going. Music, lights, rocking her to sleep. She was nursing sleep, but she's now not feeding in the night. So it's really, how can I get her to sleep through? And also, in the night, she won't sleep in her cot without absolutely screaming the place down. And she doesn't go longer than half an hour. And to the minute she wakes up, half an hour. So we're just having sleep issues, really.
Can I just say, you sound remarkably chirpy. And well done you for somebody who's having their sleep so disrupted.
I think I've adjusted. I think I'm used to it.
Okay, well, Kat, the 30-minute thing is one sleep cycle. So what happens when babies are overtired, they tend to kick in one sleep cycle. So it tends to be 30 minutes or 45 minutes. And what happens is they have 30 minutes, and what do? They're awake, you go in and obviously get them up. Daytime naps, trying to teach them to go in their cot in the daytime naps. Do you put her in a sleeping bag and have blackout and it's all kind of nice, and you have stories before she has a nap?
Is this in the daytime?
Yes.
No, we don't do stories.
Okay.
They're generally sort of sense when she's tired.
Okay.
We have got a blackout blind up. So
Okay.
I put her in either cover her with a blanket or try and put her in a sleeping bag.
Yeah, I think what she needs to understand is if she's sleeping okay at night time, a sleeping bag is her trigger to go to sleep. And also stories, if you're usually giving her stories at 7 o'clock at night, and even giving her a drink of milk, I mean, obviously if she's not feeding to sleep, but just give her a little drink, and you can sit her on your knee in her sleeping bag with a low light on and read her a story, and that gets her into the mood of falling to sleep. And then obviously putting her in the cot and stay with her. So you can pat her bottom. Does she like to sleep on her tummy or her side?
She generally ends up on her tummy.
Okay, yeah. So you can just pat her bottom and just soothe her until she's nice and calm and sleeping. But then just sit next to her so she's reassured, and then just do a process where you just move out of the room within the sort of next few days. So that will really help. So try that, and it should help.
Good luck, Kat. Thank you very much for your call. Let's speak to Tracy now. Hello, Tracy.
Hello there.
Hi. What would you like to ask Jo about?
I have a 1-year-old little girl called Jessica, who you can probably hear in the background, sorry. She's not been sleeping through for, forever really. She's now got 8 teeth, and teething seems to have started at about 4 months, and we never seem to have had a lull. So how do we now start to get her into a sleep routine, because none of the books seem to cover it?
Okay, yes. Hi, Tracy. Teething is one of those things where it can either be really, really painful, or babies seem to breeze through it. And it's quite interesting in that babies actually that are sleeping okay almost wake up with the tooth in the morning, because they go into such a deep sleep that actually the pain barrier, so where if a baby's overtired, they'll keep doing this, and each time they come into a light sleep, they'll start crying. So if you really, like I was saying to Kat, what you need to do is really tackle the daytime sleeps, because that's when they'll learn how to fall asleep on their own. So lots of reassurance, going in and making sure that they're okay. And then obviously if they're teething, you'll know the signs of it during the daytime. But if they're not teething, because they won't be teething like a consistent time, you need to obviously look for the teething signs. And then obviously deal with it. So the teething gel or different things that you can use, so powders, and then obviously medicine if they're not well. But what you really need to do is make sure that you're dealing with the teething thing, but then reassuring them in the cot so that they're nice and calm in the cot, but obviously stopping the pain. So that's a real big issue as well. So daytime firstly, and then dealing with the teething thing, and then just helping her in the cot, just to give her the confidence to fall asleep.
Thank you very much, Tracy. Good luck. Just very quickly, because we're running out of time, and this is a kind of problem I hear quite a lot from parents of kids about this age. 15-month-old girl, this is from Simon, rarely sleeps later than 5:30, started putting her to bed a bit later at 7:30, made no difference. No. The room's blackout, you know, blinds and everything. All the other things are kind of ticked off. Okay. Why do some kids just wake up a bit earlier?
A natural light sleep between 5:30 and 6. So what happens is they come into a light sleep, you're coming into your light sleep too, so you're more likely to hear them. And then if something's happening, the heating might be coming on, the birds might be singing, something will be happening, and they can't tell the time. So just you know, they don't know that it's 5:30, so go in, reassure them, and then come out again.
Don't get them up.
But don't get them up, because that's the thing, they think 5:30 is morning. So teach them that, you know, 5:30 isn't morning, it's the middle of the night, and what time that you should be getting them up.
Great.
And they'll start understanding
Jo,
a bit more.
thank you very much. Does it take you back, Roland?
It does. It's beautiful. I'm going to go and have a lie down now.
I can soothe you, Roland.
I tell you, I miss those lunchtime naps when my kids turned about 3 and they stopped having the lunchtime naps at the weekend. Are you sure you don't want a nap, kids? Come on. Thank you so much, Roland. Good luck with everything.
Thank you.
You nervous?
Yes, terribly.